Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Black Blockchain Brunch. Actually, part two for today. I was able to find my special guest, who is none other than Jamie Miner. He is known to us here at Black USA News. He's been on previous programs with Michael Haney, who comes on every Sunday with 60 Minutes in Black. So, without any further ado, I'm happy to have my next guest, Jamie Miner. Hey, Jamie, how's it going?
Hey, come on. I appreciate you, man. Sorry about the technical difficulties on my end.
Hey, no worries, no worries. Don't even apologize. You know what? This happens every day, and I'm no stranger to them. So don't even mention it. But uh, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself to the folks tuning in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So basically, my background has been mostly small business ventures. I'm like a serial entrepreneur. So, I started out in finance and mortgages. I grew that company, did pretty well. I got out a couple years, probably '06, right before Bitcoin was launched for the first time, actually. So I kind of saw where the market was going, and I needed to be able to have confidence that I was able to help, clients and different things in that industry. And it was definitely going a different direction with the banking crisis in '08. Um, then I went into construction, did some, fairly interesting projects, commercial construction for Brown University, some other universities in the Rhode Island area. Those did pretty well. And then also got into medical and legal cannabis. I took my construction background and my finance background, and I was able to kind of find out how to merge the two. And I would construct, uh, medical gardens, and I would help owner operators get licensed so that they did things, correctly, and scaled that business pretty well. At the same time, I also had a media group, and I was able to get an executive recording contract for a song with Drake. So that's a pretty diverse uh, background of business entrepreneurships, and probably another half a dozen that didn't really amount to anything, but were fun. Trying to get into different things and learn, how to scale those up and what we could do with those. From there, COVID happened, and kind of shut us out from the outside of the world and made us stay inside. So I was trying to figure out from there, well, how can I take some of my knowledge and turn it into digital money? And that's when I discovered crypto. So from there, I was trying to figure out what this was all about and how to get into it and what can I could benefit from it. I found a mentor. I paid a mentor to as part of a research group, and there was maybe about 50 to 100 of us, and they were some big players in there. That, like, they would teach us how to do it, how to research, how to get in safely. But the real cool part was, like, seeing somebody. I take my $1,000 and I'm putting into a project, and they got 50 or 100,000 into the same project, and being in that kind of environment, seeing what kind of money really gets moved around and how the markets work, is really incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always interesting to see who's in a project and uh, how much they're going in on, and I've definitely kind of been in those situations where you talk to different people, and some people are like, "Wait a minute, I only have this much," but it's nice when you can move as a unit, especially
Yeah.
with a project that is legit and it is researched, like you said, and that's very important. But I mean, you kind of talked about it, but like, how did you make that decision to want to, uh, you know, really commit to cryptocurrency and understanding how it works and all that stuff?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was torn because at that time, if you remember, there was a big. This was probably 2019, 20, around that time, and 21 we hit the all time high, and then from there, it's been on a downward slide to now, right? But that time, basically, I was watching my mentor's account. He was just showing it, and I I watched him go from 300 grand to 7.7 million in 18 months. So it wasn't too hard for me to decide to get into it when I saw those kind of results. I was like, wow, I need to learn this because there's somebody who's willing to show me, and I'm watching the success he's having. So I was sold from there. But if what I was mentioning was about during that time, there was cybersecurity was the other emerging interest that was coming out during the time. So I actually thought about between the two of those. But I settled in on crypto because essentially I wanted to find out more about how money works. And though I've been a successful business person, you know, I didn't really know how the other markets work and how one thing impacts another and how you can benefit from knowing that information. So that's basically, sparked my interest, my learning, make me a little more well-rounded in overall finance. And so, yeah, just since then, I saw it as an emerging technology, an emerging opportunity, and being in the beginning of it, So, yeah, that's really, kind of like what got me hooked.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's very interesting what the industry has to offer. It has a lot to offer to a lot of different people. And, with that said, you kind of got struck by this interest and passion in it. How do you go about introducing it or describing just like blockchain technology to, people who've never heard of it or aren't sure exactly what it is?
That's a good question. Actually, it's funny. I was meeting with a couple of friends of mine this week, and they just started some businesses. So I was spending some time and looking at those with them and kind of breaking it down. And we were talking about crypto that came up. Obviously, they have a cake business and a hot dog cart business that they just started, right? So we were having some fun with that. Then we started talking about crypto and like, what is this? I don't understand it. There's so many coins. I don't know what it does. So I think after the conversation, in talking with him, I think it's like, okay, I get it a little bit more. And the basic way I broke it down to him was, because there's this decentralization, centralization thing. And what does that really mean? So I basically would say that it's a technology that the core of it is security and transaction counting. So like whereas a bank in a central environment, they have one person that's in charge of making sure that if I send money to you, you send money to me, that there's a recorded transaction. And then it has to settle on one side, it has to be available on another side, so all those things, that's what the bank does. And then now they created this technology, if you use Bitcoin as an example. So it basically replaces the banker with a computer program that would record those transactions. And rather than just one computer, there's hundreds of thousands of computers owned by individuals like you and me. And we can buy a computer and we can plug it in and we can run this technology that will verify transactions are real. And so that way, if I send it to you, you send it to me, those computers would go along and each validator would get to verify that those transactions were accurate. And the reason that this is significant is because whereas you could go into a bank and, with a forged ID or try to, you could, try to trip the system where you could manipulate one person, one bank somehow. In this system, because there's so many computers on the network, individual validators verifying transactions, you would have to actually not just trip one person, one computer. You'd have to verify. You'd have to convince every other computer on the network that it was also a accurate transaction when it wasn't. So, you know, I think basically that's the core of it. There's so much, obviously, a lot more of the technology that it could do, but I think the basic thing is uh, eliminating that it's a currency first. Just look at the technology, because I think when people talk about cryptocurrency, they get a little nervous. Is it regulated? Is it going to last? And then so I kind of like say, okay, well, let's talk about the technology. What does it do? Why is it interesting? If you look at the current system of that we have with the banking system, you got fractional banking, so they don't have to keep all your reserves on site. So if you want to get your money, sometimes it may or may not be there depending on the amount that you're asking for. You have the bank failures because they don't have full reserves when people are trying to get their money back. So that doesn't seem like a really good system. If the banking system was such a great system, then they wouldn't fail. Whereas in the crypto world, you have a full reserve bank, like exchanges or banking, right? So that's, to me, an improvement. You look at the speed of getting transactions, the way the banks send it. If you're sending it through some kind of MoneyGram or Western Union or whatever, those kind of things, and then you have the ability to transact and send it from your phone 24 hours a day. If it's a weekend and you need money, the bank's not open, you can't get it. This allows you to access your money as soon as possible. I just sent some money some crypto to a friend of mine, and it cost us like 32 cents. And he had it instantaneously while I was on the phone with him. So, the idea that it can't be seized, whereas like you could have your assets taken from you from the government. There's another big, thing that's been improved from the current thing. So, I try to keep it real simple and, talk about the advantages of crypto and, but not too technical that gets over our heads. So people understand, like, these are innovations. These are improvements. One of the things we talked about I heard you talking about earlier, was the artificial intelligence and seeing how that merges with crypto and crypto companies and their technology. It's funny. I don't know anything about editing or, like the production side of it, the technical hands-on side of it. But I was able to take a crypto app, just downloaded an app that's based on artificial intelligence, essentially. And I was able to edit a full clip with subtitles and had it produced and cut perfectly in within a weekend. And I've never done anything like that before in my life. But artificial intelligence is taking regular people like us and giving us the ability to do some different skills. It's kind of cool where things are going. So, yeah, that's kind of how I kind of talk to some people who are new to it and try to get them to introduce to the idea of getting involved with it. I mean, because if you could take a non-skilled person and turn them into a film editor, right, and over a weekend, and now there's people looking for that skill. You can make money doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, AI, once again, is kind of democratizing how information can be accessed and applied.
Yeah.
And clearly, like, blockchain and cryptocurrency is democratizing money. So when you
Yeah.
put those things together, like, it's no wonder banks want to be like, hey, wait, we need to get our hands on that. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So,
Absolutely.
like, or the government, like, hey, we need to get our hands on that. So, sorry, not trying to be silly, but
No, it's true.
it's we see
I
it, and it goes back to your point too, very strong point of the seizure protections that
right.
it has, right? So, they can seize your bank account, they can seize your asset, your car and your house and all that stuff. But, we're talking about, obviously, situations where there are criminal allegations. Obviously, people deserve due process. However, there are people who, from time to time, are falsely accused of doing things
Yeah.
that they haven't done and have had their assets seized. So
Absolutely.
that's
Or frozen,
that's where,
just
or
to,
frozen, yeah,
yeah,
and that's where I think it's
just
a
so you have
benefit
access
for,
to it.
yeah, it's a
It's
benefit
hard.
to the falsely accused. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
people who are guilty in a court of law and have gone through due process, that's a different story.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but yeah, very, very good points. And I think the more that we're able to kind of discuss them and share with folks, like, and I like your approach too. And your background, where you come from, and as an entrepreneur. I mean, even though you said you've done other things in business, you got experience from those that people don't get, who work a 9 to 5, like, and those successes, I'm sure, are helping you be successful in crypto and understanding and evaluating use cases and other things. Like,
Yeah,
do you feel
definitely.
like that's the case?
No, definitely 100%. I think, being an entrepreneur, I'm very risk averse. So, in crypto, you have to have a high risk tolerance because there's a lot of swings in this, you know.
Definitely, definitely. And then, so what are some of your other, like, future outlooks for the industry, moving ahead?
Yeah, but it's we're always looking at the upcoming narratives. A lot in crypto starts with narratives, and narratives are basically, trends and um, you know, solutions that are, new innovations that are coming into the space. So, I look at those right now. Obviously, we have well, the closest one, the closest narrative that's coming up is for Litecoin. They're having their supply halving in the next couple months. Bitcoin halving is next year, in 2024, around April. We'll have the presidential election toward the end of the year. So, I'm expecting this next year and a half to be when we start to really enter into the bull run. But Litecoin is probably the first one that I would look at. I'm really excited about the Bitcoin advancements that's happened. I mean, Ethereum is, going to be really strong this year. I expect to see 8,000 plus price point for Ethereum when we get to the next year. Mentioning Bitcoin with the layer 2 solutions, the what some of the things that Bitcoin doesn't have, with speed and transaction costs, stuff like that. You have layer 2s that are helping it, like Lightning. But then now the newest innovation that they've introduced to Bitcoin is the ordinals, which is really fascinating. I'm trying to figure this out. It's like they're NFTs or inscriptions on Satoshis, which is, when you break down a Bitcoin, is 100 million Satoshis, right? So each now Bitcoin that you can send, you can actually write an inscription. So that's an interesting technology. If you can't, if Bitcoin allows you to send money back and forth, but now imagine if, because it lives on this ledger, that it's always, it can't be censored. You could put like a will and testament, maybe. You could do, if you need to get communication to another person and you didn't have any other means of communication, you could send a Bitcoin with an inscription to that person, and they could read it privately, or it would be, obviously it could be on a public blockchain. So those are pretty interesting to me. I like following founders who've been proven, who have different projects previously that done really well. I've been really impressed with Jack Levin. He's with Zen, and he's a really innovative and smart. He's a background in development and developer, so I really like a lot of his projects. We just had the Pulse chain launch, which we've talked about previously. That was an improvement to Ethereum. It's had some some bumps on the launch the last couple of weeks, but they have a strong community. I've used the platform. It's very cheap. It's fast. And we're at the beginning stages of that. So that's pretty exciting. And the other thing I look at too when we're researching projects is, I don't really look at price. I look more at activity, user growth, developer growth. The more developers that are on a project, that would indicate that there's going to be the future apps or dApps and innovations that's coming on. So the more developers I see on a project, with Ethereum has the most, Dot has a lot. Um, I look to get into projects where I have a lot of development, because that's where the future is. Solana is another one. Solana just introduced a new phone that they're bringing into the market, which is kind of cool. You know, um, and also like traditional companies like Nvidia's just had a really a huge push. They've just had a breakthrough in their chips, right? And so that when I see stuff like that, I look over into crypto projects that might benefit or align with that. And so a project like Render is something that stands out. And when we talk about artificial intelligence and the generative images and film and rendering capabilities needed to be able to take all this new technology to the next thing. Render is a crypto company that uses that technology and seems like it could be a good fit. So that I try to get involved with stuff like that and let it grow and see where it goes and where the narratives take it. Narratives change all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely true. I mean, there's so many different projects out there, and it's tough to, like, when just you start naming one, you can kind of keep going down just a almost like an endless list. So,
Yeah, it's true.
and like I see a lot of price predictions out there, and I don't focus on them either, because you know every day somebody puts out a new price prediction, and every day that prediction from however long ago never gets met, right? So, um, I think, like you're saying, you're looking at not just predictions from people. You're looking at technical or fundamental analysis that may indicate that this price
Yeah.
may go in a certain direction, which I think is always the best thing to do, because John McAfee, he always had his price prediction for the $1 million Bitcoin, and you know uh, didn't seem to work out. You know, uh,
Well,
Obviously,
time frame is tough, right?
yeah, yeah. Rest
Yeah.
in peace to John McAfee. To people have a certain opinion and feeling about him, but he got this space. He understood, in my opinion, what it was, and where it was going, and the dangers, and
And he's not the only one that's predicted
yeah.
that price
Right,
point too. I mean, Kathy Wood has been very
oh,
vocal about it.
right.
Foss has been. And was it Balabi was the guy with the Coinbase former Coinbase executive that said what, 1,000,000 in 90 days. Which was
Yeah, yeah. That
and
that
then
was like the most recent $1 million Bitcoin
right.
prediction, right? So
And it's
people always
they're counting on they're looking at the dollarization and all the bank failures as a catapult for what could shoot Bitcoin up in a short period of time to that kind of prices, right?
right. I guess something else I wanted to ask you is, like, definitely, the you've been on, 60 Minutes of Black, you've been on this platform before, and
Sure,
you've advocated for, Bitcoin, or, well, not just Bitcoin, but crypto, and
sure.
like, how are I see the disconnect and the difficulty that our community has, and kind of picking up steam in terms of getting people to understand it, getting people to onboard it, and what are some of those things that you see as those gaps that folks in our community have with this, or reservations or reluctance? I mean, the people, from my sense, who get it, they get it, right? You're a good example too. When you saw it, it's like, okay, I see how it works. I can see how it is in how it can work in business, how it can work in global finance. I think another thing too is, you came from an emerging market with cannabis, so you just
Yeah, it's
shifted to
true.
another emerging market with crypto.
Right.
And so, but yeah, just going back to my original question, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I grew up in a small town and a lot of the guys were all still know each other and talking about high school sports and what we did in that. And like, a lot of people, when I talk about this, is I think kind of look at me like I'm nuts, and I think I kind of am a little nuts too, but but I'm used to getting involved with things that have an opportunity to grow, and that gives me a lot more upside than where we're at when our current system. But I think a lot of my friends, they're just kind of going with the flow. They're just, this is the money system that we have, the government, what it is. This is how things are, and I also think I got exposed to somebody who I got to see firsthand their account go from 300 grand to 7.7 million. I didn't really need to see anything more than that. So I think the more people that we have that look like us, that can show our accounts and say, hey, look, we took, $1,000 or $5,000 or $100 and started there. And look what we got now. And then more people that will look like us, that will say, hey, well, if that person looks like me and they did it, then just like anything, I want to be a doctor or lawyer. Well, if I don't see any doctors or lawyers that look like me, I don't think that really opportunity is for me. It's not really an industry that's for us. So I think the more people that, like we're doing now, look like us, share our stories, our successes, and then be willing to kind of help other people by reaching out to us, that we can help them. Because that's what I'm doing now, talking about it. I'm helping some people get in, and only through those successes, I think, how it is. People are like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss out. I need to get in. We just did this. We were doing some airdrop hunting. I was showing some people in the mentor group how to get some airdrop hunting. One of my buddies just posted that he got $1,500 last month in free airdrops. We just did another one with Layer Zero. We got ZK Sync coming out. We have a few of the new, really interesting, innovative technologies in crypto coming out, and ways to get free tokens, which turn into real money, So yeah, it's been pretty cool. But I think that the best way we can get people to try to get a chance to get involved in is by us doing well, and then showing our successes, and then be willing to show them how to do the same thing. So, and that's kind of, I think that's the approach right now. I get less. I used to get a lot more messages saying, hey, how's crypto's not doing so well, huh? And messing with me when I was down to 15. Now I don't get so many messages now. And as I post some of my, some testimonials from some of the people who I've helped, and some of my accounts, and then I've, verbally said, try look at a couple of these coins, look at a couple of these projects, and then we revisit a few months later, and now those I've shown the percentages that were up. I just think that's the bottom line. The more I do that, the more people are gonna not want to miss out with all this money that we're gonna be making over this next year.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm glad you shared your perspective on that, because mine's always been very much like you said, putting like risk factors first. And I share my mistakes because, you can make a lot of mistakes and you can really get hurt doing the wrong thing in crypto. So I've always led with, hey, these are the risks and these are my mistakes, because I don't want you to make the same mistake I did. Right. And I think it kind of turns people off, really? I didn't necessarily want to come from like a boastful standpoint of like, oh, I did this and I made this much money. But that is more attractive to people than saying, hey, look out where the pitfalls are. In fact, I think I've just kind of been branded as a professional loser. Like, oh, you're a professional loser. You make mistakes all the time. Yeah, it's the same thing.
So I get funny.
What about crypto, huh? It looks like it's going down. Yep. Able to buy a value meal at Burger King with that? It's like, oh, it's so true. When people are, able to make jokes and crack jokes. And, at this point, it's like, doesn't bother me. But then when the market is hot and it's warming up and it's like, oh, I get those calls and those messages. Hey, how can I get in? What's good? It's like, well, you want to buy the top?
I know.
You want to buy the top of the market right before it's about to go down?
That's the way it works, though, right?
That's not smart. Well, yes, that is how
that's That's where it works. We're lucky to be willing to take the risk now. We're telling people to join our our journey with it not all laid out, not perfect yet, not it's everything the way it is. And now when it is set up and all the infrastructure is there and the prices are where we said they will be, and now that's when the mass adoption comes in. But we also need that because we need to be rewarded for being there early and parking our money there, and because the opportunity cost that we could be putting that into something else, that's our reward, for people coming in late.
Yeah. And then it even goes back to I think what I was saying before. It's like, yes, it's good. We need regulation in the space, but then the government is going to have their influence. The corporations are going to take their cut. And yes, to a certain extent, it will be easy, and people will have the peace of mind that they're not doing anything illegal per se. But the people who have the highest benefit are, like you said, the earliest adopters who were there before all that and understand how to go around the corporations and their fees, and can really operate in a true peer-to-peer fashion. I think, and that's what's important to learn, in my opinion, is go back to the Bitcoin white paper, and what this is all about is it is about doing transactions in a peer-to-peer manner. And that, especially for our community, is powerful too. Once again, like, we're taking banks out of the equation. um, I don't think we can necessarily take government out of the equation, but at least it's important to know where government stands, and how to operate within that framework, and play by the rules. But once again, to at least keep corporations out of your pocket when they're trying to impose those exorbitant fees.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I look at where this can go, and I look at, it's you bring up a good point about government and decentralization, because China tried to ban it, to stop it. They made it illegal. You couldn't mine it. It didn't stop the network. So now you're at a situation where you have United States government that's trying the same thing, making it difficult, but they can't control it. It seems like, really, honestly, the only flaw that crypto has is that it can't be controlled, and that's really the only thing that I see they have a problem with it. They can't control what they're doing with it, and that's it. You know. I as far as the opportunity for learning, I actually was had a great uh, interaction. I was speaking with one of the founders of a metaverse learning platform, gaming and learning platform. It's called Project Lambo, and you should check it out. It's really interesting. It's inside of a metaverse, so you can actually it has this great community. You can go inside and find different areas that you're like to first in the gaming side of it. That's really where the attraction is going to bring in the mass audience, and then learning while you're playing a game. So you don't know you're learning. That's the kind of atmosphere that I think going forward. You're saying like where the future of crypto and this will be. I think with visionaries like that who have an idea for bringing people in gaming and learning while you're there, and connecting with others like-minded. So Project Lambo is something that I've been looking into, and speaking with them to maybe even add value on their platform with the founder. It was really, really interesting.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, metaverse, obviously, I mean, is probably going to be the next big thing when people, you know, uh, truly subscribe and onboard to it. Uh, and, with AI, of course, and everything else, and you put that into the Web3 framework, and with decentralization, there's going to be a lot there when it's market ready, and when the market is ready for it. So,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
It's a fun time, and I think when the technology catches up to the vision of where it's going to go to, it's going to be like oh, okay, I see what they're doing now.
right. Well, definitely. Jamie, Thanks for, taking time out of your day. Thanks for, getting through those technical difficulties to join myself for part two of the Black Blockchain Brunch. Is there anything you want to leave folks with in terms of how they can find you or just you keep in mind?
I appreciate you, and I look forward. I know we talked about some other things and some exciting things behind the scenes that you got going on. So I really appreciate just a chance to get to talk about this stuff. And you can, obviously, anyone needs to contact me. I'm usually on Twitter at JamieMiner9. Uh, Reach out if I can help with anyway. Please, like this, share this information so we can get. Kamal's putting a great platform out here with a great message. So let's support him and let's keep seeing if we take this to in the future and help people again who look just like us so they can have an opportunity to have the kind of future that they want as well. So I appreciate you very much.
All right, Jamie. Yeah, thanks. Definitely, this is not the last they're going to see of you here on the brunch. So, next time we'll make sure people have their mimosa or their iced coffee or whatever, and can join us in full relaxation mode while they kind of can sit down and chill and learn. So, uh, hey, man, look forward to working with you and seeing you soon here. So, in the meantime, everybody, make sure to stay safe out there, and we'll see.